Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. I hope you're all well. Who's going to be watching this evening on transfer deadline day? A few things to talk about: the game against Motherwell, and we'll go over that briefly. I'm joined by Jed. How are you, buddy?
I'm fine, Stephen. Fine. Just hope there's going to be a lot of activity in the next hour and 25 minutes.
There's more activity, and I'm having a shite by the looks of it at the moment. Thomas Burns is saying he can't see me. Or who can you not see? I think Gav, looks like you froze again, buddy. There's a few technical glitches happening
There he's there.
this evening. Gav, can you hear us?
I can hear you right now. I apologise. I don't know how consistent this is going to be. We'll just see what we can do.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do, just briefly, is I'm going to check our YouTube to make sure you can see us all. Let's see.
Yeah, I'll check it.
So, yeah, we can see. I can see on YouTube. Thomas, maybe refresh your YouTube feed. Come back on and back off. We are experiencing a few technical difficulties, but Gav, I'll come to yourself first, buddy. Talk about just briefly. I mean, obviously the current topic of conversation is the transfer deadline day. It's happening today. The lack of transfer activity, and we'll come on to that quite sharpish. But just at the game at Fir Park, the game has started really well. Made him with a goal in the first minute. Great cross, and he followed in with a great header. Ralston with a great assist. He was deputising for Johnson, who I think just needed a rest. And you can't ask for a better start than that, surely.
Yeah, I was surprised how early we scored in the game. It was a brilliant start to the game. Like the cross for Ralston. I think sometimes Ralston, whenever he steadies himself for a cross, he can put in a brilliant delivery. And Idah had kind of reset himself because it was like an attack just before that phase of play. And
the Gremlins have done already. Do you know what it feels like? Do you know what it feels like? The Celtic board know we're going to lambast them at some point this evening in this podcast, and they've got their technical wizards to try and pull us from the airwaves. But Gav, you have froze. What I'm going to do is going to take you out of the stream, try and get back in, refresh your Wi-Fi at some point. But we'll see what happens from here anyway. But Jed, the same kind of question to pose to Gav there. It was a great start. Mead has been, I mean, he's been on fire this season. He was involved in the other goals as well that Celtic scored at Fir Park. Great header. I think that's his 16th goal. I think I was round about the same assist as well. He's really kicked on and he's developing as a player under Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, I think right up when the game finished yesterday, Stephen, I put on our WhatsApp group, I thought my Idah was the man of the match. I thought he was outstanding yesterday. Scored a great header and also 2 assists as well. What more can you ask for? Overall, the game, I thought we totally dominated from start to finish. But yes, you're always a little bit nervous going in the last 10 minutes because you think if they get half a chance, it's 2 each here. You know, when the goal got chopped off as well with the dodgy lines, and then the great.
What did you think about that?
It was, I don't know. They must have took their kids to work yesterday and gave them cranes just to draw and things. It was so tight. It was. I always thought they always give the striker the benefit of the doubt, but obviously not now. And then the great, I mean, Kuhn's goal. Yes, he was offside, but what a finish for it.
Mm-hmm.
It was, yeah, like I say, 3-1 at the end. But yeah, great. Listen, as I said on Friday night, I fancied a 2-1 win. But I'll be honest, like I said, the last 10 minutes, I was just thinking, just don't let them get half a chance because we could regret it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think they did get their opportunity. That the man Armstrong, his name, I believe he scored, didn't he? I think it was Armstrong. Looked like a push on the back of Carter Vickers.
Yeah,
but
I thought it was.
I don't think you're ever going to get them, especially from John Beaton on the VAR as well. Do you know what I mean? I think it's a lost cause, like you said, with them dodgy lines as well. But I mean, it was a wee bit of a sticky period after that. Idah, I think he's really kind of took his game on to another level. I don't know if I can put it down to, since Kyogo has left, I think what's happened is he got a good kind of jolt of confidence in the young boys game and he played a a pivotal role in that getting that goal for us to get through to the knockout stages or the playoff rounds, that people like to say. And then he followed that up with a great couple of goals at Fir Park, and then he's really kicked on and he scored to put us 2-1 up against Motherwell, which was important at that time because, like you said, it was sticky and we had to see it through.
Yeah, I mean, Idah thought, he does seem to have grasped the opportunity, and we're seeing the benefits of it, even in Paul. I knew he was going to take him off, because that's the worry now, because if he gets injured, that's how, as all supporters, we were hoping there was going to be a signing coming tonight. Still might be the case, but it's not looking great. This going into almost the 11th hour, is it?
Quite literally, it's near 10 o'clock. I thought the club, well, you can't think this club's going to get business done early. They've had all January to sort out different positions, and obviously, as I said, this was always going to be a brief overview of the Motherwell game, because the burning issue in everyone's mouths right now is the kind of the end of this transfer window. And I think that the fitting place to kind of round it up is Felipe Jota come back onto the pitch. To be fair, I thought he looked great on the left-hand side. He was taking players on, he was getting the balls into the box, and grip at a play. Engels played the ball into Idah, who timed his run perfectly. Idah took it wide to the right-hand side, whipped it in for Jota on the first time finish. And, if there's a moment, a fairy tale, not like a fairy tale ended, but this is just the beginning of his new chapter at us. But it was just sensational. He done his iconic celebration with his fist in the air. And what did you make of him back in the Celtic shirt again? The impact he had. He scored a goal, Jed. He can't ask for any more from a new signing.
No, I mean, listen, we all know the quality that Jota possesses, and yes, he needs to get match fit. Everybody can see that, but to get that goal, I thought it was nice as well when he was doing his celebration. His fellow players let him do it. They didn't go over to him right away. I thought that was good. And at the end, very emotional from the guy, and that's just going to endear him even more to the.
What did you make of the throwaway comments that Chris Boyd and Aidan McGeady tried to throw at him? I thought it was really disrespectful. I mean, McGeady left Celtic for money really early on in his career. He went to Spartak Moscow. Chris Boyd proclaims to be a mental health kind of ambassador, and they understand what it means for men, especially in this world, who I think are really, we don't really talk about our emotions much, and when we show emotion, you get, as I said, you get caned for it. You get told you shouldn't be crying. The crying's not for me, that type of stuff. But Felipe Jota, I mean, we've been in parts of our lives, Jed. No matter if you have money or you don't, you feel down, you feel depressed. Do you know what I mean? And you come back to a place where you feel valued and loved. And he let out a wee tear. Do you know what I mean? We've all let out wee tears here and there. I think for me that's commendable. It shows how much that Celtic mean to him. And another thing to kind of add to that as well, he left, right? He went to Saudi Arabia. He probably thought he was making the right choice, but instantly over the next few months to a year, when he moved to Rennes, he realised what he lost and the place he missed, and he got that opportunity to come back. And as he said in his press conference, he feels like he's home. He feels like he's back home. And we all support him, and I think anyone in the club should support him. I don't know if Celtic will put a complaint in the sky, but I just thought it was very distasteful from Chris Boyd and McGeady to slag him off like that.
I am not getting on to Chris Boyd because he's an ex-Rangers player. What he and his family had to go through when his brother took his own life must have been horrendous. And for him to come away with a comment like that, I think it is very poor. He was asking people to be thinking about others when it happened to his family. So come on, I'm hoping at the next live Sky match he's going to apologise, because it was very, very poor, very poor. And we all know, Stephen, we all know people who have suffered from mental health, and it's not nice, especially when it's loved ones and close friends and stuff like that. You hate to see people going through that. Now, I'm at an age, I'm a little bit older than yourself, but you really, if you showed emotion when you were younger, it was a sign of weakness. But sometimes you need that wee valve released to make you feel better. And I've seen myself, a young boy, and I knew took his own life a couple of years ago. Grew up with his mum.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrendous. I was speaking to him a couple of weeks prior to that, and in fact, it just wasn't. It's not nice. It's not nice.
And I think that's why, as a podcast, we've always kept up the numbers of like the Samaritans and breathing space for anyone who needs to talk about problems or issues. You can even reach out to us individually as well. It shouldn't be laughed at. It shouldn't be, kind of pointed at and labelled at. You should be allowed to express your emotions and however you feel in this day and age. And we got the win. It was 3-1. We're still 10 points clear with that game in hand on Dundee. I think it's on Wednesday evening.
Wednesday, yes.
Celtic had a take to put out today that it's a pay-per-view option, so you can pay them even more money, and you wonder where it goes. But I do want to say to people in the comments, we've got 51 lives so far, which is fantastic. I mean, Plunge, Sheena, Ronnie, Stephen Murdoch, if any of you watching along, if you want to get anything you want to talk about in your frustrations with the window, what's the board doing, we'll get it up, we'll have a chat about it. I think we'll be on the near enough, probably 10:30, 11 anyway, to hopefully mop up any last minute business that Celtic seem to be not doing at this precise moment in time.
Stephen, I've just checked here, mate. I'm on Celtic's Twitter page now, and there is nothing up yet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen a lot of funny tweets saying that damn Celtic will drag this Jeffrey Schlupp announcement out until the 10:59 and make it look like we've actually done something. But Paul McKeown comes in. We all knew this transfer deadline day would be a damp squib night. I mean, let's trace this back to when Kyogo leaves, right? We'll park the Alex Valle and left back situation for this precise moment in this discussion. We've let Kyogo leave for £10 million, the Rennes, right? Surely you're thinking from hello, Anthony, buddy. All good, mate?
Mr. Dunn, how you doing?
All good. Good to have you on. But surely you're thinking, Jed, if you're sitting there in the boardroom, if you're the manager, Kyogo says, look, I want to leave, and he makes it clear he wants to leave, right? You have to respect his wishes. But what I also think you have to do on a second front is you have to get someone in sharpish or have someone ready to come in and replace him. That Quitsgarden or Nitsgarden, I can't pronounce his name, that's all I have on it. It's just a running thing on here. That seems to have fell flat in its arse. Bromby have increased their asking price by £2 million. But again, I think that's a fault at Celtic for not tying this deal up earlier. Mm-hmm. Now everyone knows we're desperate for a striker. Where do you see this? I mean, the Kyogo situation, not having the replacement, then I think it's a joke, to be honest.
I personally think it's a dereliction of duty on behalf of the board to the fans. We knew, or if they knew for so long that he was going to be going, and they obviously had a price in their head, and they've probably told Kyogo's agent, that's the price we're looking for. If you come to that, we'll allow the player to speak to any suitors out there for the club. And they've done that. And they should have had someone in. I think I have said on numerous occasions, we were probably spoilt when Andrew was a manager because we were getting players in so early. Yes, we did get the odd late signing, granted. But Rodgers has said for weeks now he wants to come out this transfer window stronger. Guys, let's be honest. The way things stand, we are in a weaker position. I don't know how Anthony feels about that.
Well, we're going to come to Tony in a wee second. I think it'll be interesting. We have a lot of contrasting views on here this evening, which is good. It makes for a good debate. But your man comes in here, Tony, and says, how dire has this lack of organisation from board, recruitment and manager been negligent for 4 windows now? It's madness, constantly making profit while doing the bare minimum. Now, you can understand the frustration there because we've posted record amounts in the bank, and Peter Lawwell has even come out and said it's not healthy to sit in that kind of money in the bank. You need to keep spending it. As Jed said there, Rodgers has countlessly said this window he wants to come out stronger. Even more so the last couple of days, he's kind of vented his frustrations at the lack of transfer activity. I mean, can you defend, in my opinion, the indefensible? I know what people are talking about. Idah, he's come on to a rich vein of form. He's done fantastically well. But then if you're relying on him being your number one striker and you're happy with that, then you're relying on a Daniel Cummings or a Johnny Kenny being the understudy. And let's say the unthinkable happens and we're going into the Bayern Munich game, for example, and Idah's injured. We're going to have to run with Cummings or Kenny. Now, the argument is give youth a chance. blah, blah, blah. But that's not the environment, in my opinion, that you chuck the youth in. You have to drip feed them in, bleed them in every now and then, take them out, put them back in again, do the hokey-cokey and turn around, all that type of stuff. But where do you sit at the moment, Tony? What's your feeling?
It's like everything else. I can understand people's frustrations. We all want things to, we all want to see us making signings and boys coming in all the time. But I just find constantly that there's... I'm not even the board's biggest fan, but I just feel a lot of the time that so much of the criticism, it doesn't start, like it's all disjointed. And the way, like for example, you look at it today, or over this window, the Kyogo, saga, for want of a better word, and that's, of course, you don't want to see your, I love Kyogo, one of the best players we've ever had it, sort of in my lifetime at Celtic, always, big game player, derbies, Europe, won cups, won leagues, phenomenal player. But Brendan's been quite clear for the outset that, I mean, like we say, he changed agent last season, at the tail end of last season, and as I said last week on the podcast, that generally tends to only go one way. And there was, I mean, I didn't pay too much attention to the rumours in Man City, when that was doing the rounds, but there was no doubt that there was definitely an indication that he wanted to leave. So that was fine. And as I say, I don't have any more information than anyone else, but the only way that I can, like, when you look at how the processes went, he wasn't sold last summer, of course, and to be fair to him, in the last 6 months, I don't think he's down tools or whatever. I know there's some people that say he's maybe not been as effective, but I think that Brendan plays the game slightly differently, the way Ange does, so there wasn't as much of a burden, if you will, on Kyogo to constantly be the main goal getter. You look at the numbers that Idah and Kuhn have provided this year, and latterly Idah as well. But there's, things do change, and I've said it last week. I do not believe that Kyogo would have been sold in this window had the opportunity not arose to re-sign Jota. That's the thing that gets me with it, because Brendan's on record to say that that's a player that he wants to work with, and he was disappointed that he'd kind of, the deal had been struck for him to leave just around the time where he was joining. And I think, when these offers are made, the people in charge, whether that be the footballing department like Paul Tisdale and obviously Brendan himself, or the powers that be, I don't think they would have. I think if the option of Jota hadn't been there, Kyogo would still be a Celtic player right now. But they've probably presented this situation to Brendan and says, look, we know Kyogo wants away. There's something that could potentially be done here. And I don't think necessarily that Brendan, look, I mean, obviously he paid his tributes to him and his respects to him and the professional way that he does, but I don't think Brendan looked too exasperated about the fact that Kyogo had left and that he's getting to work with the player that he wants to do. Like I say, and obviously I'm president of the Idah fan club, so I'm delighted that he's going to be, this is his opportunity now. You're the top dog, and
okay, there's your other cheerleader in. These two are balance each other, aren't they?
The laddie knows, sense. It's just the way it is.
Tony, can I come back? Can I come back at you? And you can finish your point as well. I didn't mean to cut you up, but you mentioned there that Rodgers was on record speaking about he was disappointed when Jota left. Fair enough. Big player, massive void for us to fill. And we probably didn't fill it until he came back, which is quite ironic. But he also mentioned as well that he's been aware, and the club's been aware, that Kyogo has wanted to leave for the last year, and he's been more persistent with it come up to the January window. Now, without this whole Jota thing and the scenario, you would expect, you would demand from a professional football club that they would have a short list of targets for that striking position if the eventuality happened that Kyogo did actually leave the club, which has happened. And nothing's happened for a replacement to come in. So you're mentioning Jota, but they're two different players. It leaves two positions, one position unfilled, another position in terms of the wings strengthened, which is fantastic. But it leaves us really, really low in the striking department. So do you not understand that point of view?
I can, but I keep going back to the point. If I get that they're two different players, but Jota himself is a player that, I mean, we know how much he's loved here at Celtic. And as I say, if I was sitting as Brendan Rodgers, I don't have an ounce of the man's football knowledge, but if I'm sitting there with a guy that I know wants away, but to his credit is still doing his best. I mean, his last game for Celtic, give or take, making his runs a wee bit better. He was sitting on a hat-trick on a Champions League night. So he was still giving his all for the jersey, but this situation has been playing on at the back of his mind that he wants to leave, and that's fine. For what it's worth, I think if as I say, if the deal hadn't been, the option hadn't been there for Jota, Kyogo wouldn't have been sold. And this hardball thing that people have been tweeting about and messaging about, saying we should just have told them your contract, you've signed a new contract last year, you'll be here until we say otherwise. So it sounds great when you're posting it out there or whatever, but that's not how the guys that run Celtic have to deal. They can only deal with situations as they arise. And of course, ideally, I mean, I don't know, I've been kind of away for the telly for the last hour. I don't know if anything's changed. I think it's still just slop that seems to be happening today. I don't even know if it's official yet. But, of course, I would have loved for another striker to have come in to be that potential backup for Idah, who'll be, or Idah, he's your main man at the minute. But it is what it is, for wanting a better word. And I wouldn't want Celtic paying over the odds for a player that, I mean, as much as, of course, Brendan's able to talk more about Idah last season because he was on our books, he was a player that was representing us, but it reminds me very much of the Miovski saga last year. Everybody was raging that we didn't sign Miovski in the transfer window last year, but there was never actually really any in concrete that Brendan absolutely wanted this guy. The same way I don't even know how to pronounce the guy's name, and I don't want a very less success than yourself, Stephen, that try to do it. But
yeah, you can try.
But for what it sounds like, and I can only go by what the in the know people are posting, Celtic have went to Brøndby with a deal, with a very fair offer, and they've stuck 2 million extra on it, possibly on top of what was already more than the figure being quoted. And Celtic have probably thought to themselves, no, do you know what, we did this back in the summer because Kyogo was injured and Brendan really wanted Adam Idah. That was his his red line. He wanted him in, and we paid that wee bit more because maybe they did kind of play about too long and try to do the classic Lowell ball. But they maybe just decide this time, no, do you know what? No, there's 2 ways this can happen. Either you take the offer or the offer's off the table. And if it's, by all accounts, it's true, if you're signing for Brøndby for half the not Brøndby, for Celta Vigo for half the price that potentially they were looking for from us, then that tells me all the while that Brøndby were never Brøndby were never seriously interested in signing and selling the player to us, or the player himself didn't really have any kind of desire to join Celtic. And that's fair enough. If he wants to go in, Spain, different climate, totally different culture, you can understand the appeal. But if you want, I don't want somebody coming to Celtic that isn't 100% committed to coming to Celtic. And if that means for the next wee while of an Idah up top, maybe with this young lad, Kenny, what an opportunity for him. I'm not saying to throw him in a Champions League game, absolutely not. But there's an opportunity now. There is this pathway that we keep hearing that there should be, and Celtic haven't produced or perhaps given the opportunity to a young striker to come through for a long, long time. And there's an opportunity there now, and I would rather not do sign the wrong player for the right reason, if that makes sense. If the idea is get somebody in to be Adam Idah's backup, if it'd been a short-term deal, that would have been great. But if it's not possible, then I'm not going to, fire shock and awe at the board for not spending £10 on what is potentially still only a £5 player.
Well, I mean, you did reference. I mean, we could say the same about Alameda. £10 for a £5 player, if we're honest. But you said something was quite interesting, Jed. I don't know if you picked up on it about Celtic being kind of overpriced now, right? For me, it doesn't matter if we get a 6-month loan deal in, and then in the summer we're back in the same position anyway. Clubs are going to overprice us because we know we're desperate. So if we sign Nate Garden, that's only example I know, for the £13 million that they wanted, in the summer they're still going to want the exact same. That's not going to go down. Do you know what I mean? Because they know we need a striker in. And I think if Celtic were going to sign a striker, it would probably to be the first choice and Alameda back down the other study. That's no disrespect to the fella. He's done a fantastic job. But if you're selling Kyogo, who was first choice, I think Rodgers would want someone in same caliber, if not better. Jed, the names I see linked are Danny Ings, 32 years old at West Ham. Hasn't really done much. A couple of goals in the last couple of years. Fofana, who plays for Chelsea, hasn't kicked the ball for them. He's on loan to a club, I think, in Belgium. Timo Werner, mad that he can be linked with us when he's on loan at Spurs. How does that even work? But yeah, do you agree with much what Tony said there? Have you got a different opinion? Look at the comments, for example, that they're going wild at the minute with people saying they're disappointed and we're gaslighting the fans by saying it's a difficult window. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed. I'm sure Tony's disappointed as well, but I understand we can't be held to ransom as well. And if we do get the slop, however you pronounce it, that makes sense because we've got Tierney coming in the summer. So that makes sense. It's a loan. So I'm happy with that. It gives us cover for Taylor. I just cannot believe we haven't got another striker. Now, I'm just looking there as talk as at Shamrock Rovers is trying to get Kenny back in loan.
Is that happening now?
So that's what's on Twitter at the moment. And then West Ham were in for Daniel Cummins. Celtic knocked back $500,000. According to TalkSport earlier today, they were 750,000 was the figure Celtic were looking for. So again, I'm thinking, well, we must have a striker lined up for today. But we haven't. Well, we haven't made a signing yet. And I stress again, do you think we're in a weaker position now than we were in the 1st of January?
Of course we are. By default we are, because we're left back short and we're striker short. You can't argue against that.
But it looks like we're going to be signing at the very least a guy that can play left back and has been known to play in left wing. So the left back situation's completely dealt with.
Tony, I said that, but
I'm saying I was responding to Stephen. Sorry, Jed.
Yeah. So what I'm getting as well, we've let Welsh go, but everybody was saying we need to let Welsh go out on loan. So I thought we were going to bring in another centre half as well, basically for cover for Carter Vickers. And it is frustrating. We just want the bet, and we totally understand we don't want the club held to ransom. I'll say that again. But sometimes you have to put the boat out a little bit, push it out a little bit to get the players in. And at times, I feel as though this board doesn't want to do that. I know you can come back and say, well, we've done it with Ingles. We've done it with Idah. But guys, when Martin O'Neill first came in, we were spending £6 million on 3 players 20 odd years ago. Look at it now. And many players have been bought over $6 million. There's not many.
No,
and Tony, you're the same as me. We're going to be forking out for Saturday's game in the Cup. We've then got the Champions League game that we're forking out for. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I don't know what's happened there. Don't know who done that.
I thought you were giving yourself a thumbs up. That's quality. I was
just hoping that we would have had a few more signings in the day. And but guys, can I just say as well, could it be? I mean, he's laughed at me when I said we might not go for a striker last week because they knew we could put Idah up top. And Idah went up top yesterday when they took Idah off. Now, is that... I've been thinking all day, so is that now? They're just thinking, okay, we actually don't need a striker now. We can put Idah in there. I hope I'm wrong.
Jed, what this tells me, and look, Sean the Mac is saying maybe not Tony, but me and Jed are creating controversy for no reason. Look, I wouldn't say that. We're all entitled to opinions and entitled to feel how we want to feel about certain situations.
We're just frustrated, Stephen. I think it's not. We're just frustrated.
We're just frustrated.
Yeah, but we all want the best for the club.
100%.
Every fan, for no matter what club, wants the best for their own club.
Yeah,
we are no different.
But what this tells me, though, right? See this? I know, tongue in cheek by Tony there, we're bringing Jeffrey Schlupp in, right, for left back cover, which is all well and good.
Tongue in cheek, it was a fact.
I know.
You said the left back situation's not been dealt with, and from what I know, it is. So it's not tongue in cheek; it's just a fact.
The deal makes sense, right? But again, de facto, we're still weaker because we haven't signed an out-and-out striker, so we're weaker than we were getting. What it tells me as well is we've kind of kiboshed the Champions League game as Bayern Munich as if, like, we got to the playoffs, our target. We don't need to do much more because X, Y, and Z. We'll see through the end of the season, and we'll take it in the summer.
Stephen, we're not going to. The reason we qualify or not qualify against Bayern Munich is not because whether or not we didn't sign Danny Ings or a guy from Brondby.
Of course. But what I'm saying is...
Bayern Munich are out along... I think they're 7 times European champions. They've won about the last 15 titles in a row up until last season. They are one of Europe's, behemoths. Out with Real Madrid and, AC Milan in the 90s. They're the most successful club in the competition. So we could have signed the guy for Brondby, we could have signed a bastard midfield, we could have signed Igor to help out CCV at the back. We could still get run over.
Of course.
Club. Yeah.
I understand that, but it's the fact to have a wee bit of courage to try and do something to combat that. I mean, the way I know we can't sign a £10 million player and be like, we're going to smash Bayern Munich, whatever. I'm not that naive, but it just looks like, for me, I think Ronnie gets what I'm saying, just a lack of ambition in terms of spending and progress in Europe. Maybe our progress in Europe stops at Bayern Munich. Maybe we go on. We just don't know. The game's going to happen. We'll see it happens from that. But all I'm saying is, for me, Tony, and I know we're polar opposite ends of thinking, and that's fair enough. But I look at this and I'm thinking to myself, as I said, I'll go back to it, and you mentioned it as well. You don't want to throw Kenny in the Champions League game. So that tells me we do need to bring someone in to be there with Idah. Do you know what I mean?
Idah will play against Bayern Munich.
But what if he gets injured?
Well, in that case, that would be, I don't know. You'd maybe Idah suspended, isn't he? Well, it would be if it'd be the young guy. We didn't want to throw Davy Marshall in the new camp. Yeah. It happened. Do you know what I mean? It's you got to deal with these things as and when they come. And would we be any more confident? Sending Danny Ings up front. I mean, I'm saying that as to guys that were absolutely. I know it's not going to happen. It's looking like, but the idea that, oh my God, we don't have a backup striker in. So that, and it's because we're just writing off Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich will not define our season, whether it be in Europe or even domestically. We've done very well in Europe this year. There's been clear progress. We've had some good wins. We've had some. We don't tend to celebrate draws, but getting a draw away in Atalanta was a fantastic result. Considering where the kind of intensity of the campaign around Christmas, I still maintain, although you always want them to be a wee bit more adventurous, getting that point away in Zagreb proved to be pivotal as well. And there was lots of plus points at Villa Park last week, but there was lots that was frustrating that we've got to work on as well. Jed, you say about the thing about Idah through the middle. Obviously, that's what where he plays for the Japanese national team. It's not where we feel that we get the most out of him. We obviously feel he get some more at doing the business, coming in for the left, and we've seen how effective he's been this season and seasons before for the club. But we will probably, just even for the fact that once Jota's up to speed, Jota's going to be featuring a lot in the team. So it might just well be the case that it's actually that'll be a natural thing. Not that we're want to be doing it all the time, but it'll be the case that if we're still going to be relying on other players to help out as well. Yang, for better or worse, is sticking around, so he's going to feature and take minutes off the boys when they need to be rotated as well. So we are going to see Idah up front, I would imagine at times. But as I say, there's also a chance in domestic games for one of the young boys to stake a claim, and it's something that potentially a lot of previous young guys coming through that have played up front, they maybe haven't had that opportunity. Here's the opportunity now, but like I also say, it's also a huge chance for Idah to go and show that he's the top dog. He's a totally different player to Kyogo, we know that, but saying that to my brother in one of the other group chats, I say he's the type, the old school type of number 9. I think he's got a wee bit about him in terms of his hold up play, but I think that is one of the parts of his game that he's got to improve. But I think he is the type of player that if he gets that the type of service that he craves from the right, from the left, he'll be an absolute beast in the box for Celtic. I really do believe that. And I think those goals that he got against Villa and yesterday will do him the world of good. As I say, that might not be enough to beat Bayern Munich, but I think
Tony, I think as well,
as good a chance as any.
All the Celtic fans, he has stepped up. The last, he's only been in 2 games, but he stepped up against Villa. He done it again yesterday. Pegleg, I don't know if you can bring that comment up again, Stephen. Pegleg made a comment, and I touched on this the last couple of podcasts. We are going to have Champions League qualifying early. Right? What I've said about what Pegleg said there. That's what I've said as well. I don't mind players coming in on loan, but with an option to buy, because then if we do get them in the summer, they've already spent umpteen months with the squad. They know Glasgow, they know the area, and it's easier than getting a player in fresh. This is where it has worked for us, and I'm still hoping there'll still be a couple tonight. Obviously, the left back, as we touched on, that speaks for itself. We'll see. That speaks for itself, but it's just a case of we just need to hope there are going to be more signings. The left back's fine, we've got cover now, but I still thought we were needing at least an additional 3 players on top of that.
Yeah, just looking on Twitter, it looks like the confirmation that Kenny may be going to Shamrock Rovers may be coming imminently as well. That may be happening shortly. I know the Irish transfer window opens a wee bit later on in the European window. In case anyone didn't know as well, Daniel Cummins has actually agreed a pre-contract with West Ham, so he'll be a West Ham player come the summer. I think what West Ham were trying to do was get him down just to bet him into the academy down there, but I don't think that's happening. We've just seen there Aberdeen signed a striker, Palestine national player, so that will be an interesting one to see how he copes in the Scottish League. By all the scout reports I've read, he's a decent striker. But Tony, again, anyone in the comments, fire in what you want to talk about, your dismay, pleasure. Are you enjoying the transfer window? Are you happy? Are you feeling good? And the left back situation, Alex Faye was let go. I think he really wanted to explore his opportunities, and Como Fabregas probably being one of his idols, so Celtic probably reluctantly let that deal happen. Still not confirmed, but looks like Jeffrey Schlupp's coming in to kind of fill the void until Kieran Tierney. I think it's a 6-month loan deal. There's no option to buy, but the most interesting thing out of that is he's a free agent in the summer, so potentially maybe we could bring him in if Greg Taylor doesn't decide to renew and have him as kind of competition Kieran Tierney going forward. But what's your feelings towards this? He's a utility player. I think he's featured 12 times for Palace, but he's only had a combined 108 minutes this season. I know they're fighting up the table or whatever. Don't really pay much attention to English football, but does it excite you? Was it a sensible option to go for?
He's not somebody that I can admit to having any kind of in-depth knowledge about, to be honest, mate. But you can only go by off the reports and the kind of the type of player that he is, and the term I've heard a lot is that versatile, and not only can he play predominantly left back, but he can offer a bit of extra cover on the left wing as well, but across the kind of left side of the midfield as well. So yeah, there's options, and it's an extra option there for Brendan. Like I say, I think he's, like we say, primarily coming in as a backup. I think, like Idah up top, the left back position is Greg Taylor until the end of the season, which I've got absolutely no issue with whatsoever. And we just need to wait and see whether that means it's to the end of the season and he leaves, or if there's some sort of deal where we can sign, whether they can come to agreement and for him to sign a new contract, which I still don't think is actually out the window, because you look at the demands of what playing for Celtic will do. We play, you would imagine a minimum of, best part of 60 games a season, and I think even if we were getting Haiti 4 or 5 years ago, that would still take a huge toll on his body. So I don't think there would be. I don't think it would be out of the question for if Brendan was to have the conversation with Taylor and say, you're certainly not going to play every game. Kieran's going to come back. We know the what he means to the club and how good a player he is, but you would definitely not be, a Premier Sports Cup third round player either. He would have an active part to play, maybe more than what even Tony Ralston does on the right hand side. It would be up to Greg to see if that's something that he would, settle for, or if he wanted to explore his options elsewhere. And whatever decision he made, that's absolutely, he's earned that right to make that decision. But absolutely, when you look, he's had a good season so far, for me, Greg Taylor, and I think he's done more than enough over the park to warrant that respect. So if he's our man to the end of the season, then I'm pretty happy. But we do have that versatility to help out at the back as well with Schlupp. As I say, I can't say I'm an expert on him, but there's an option there if needed.
Yeah, no doubt he's definitely a versatile player, Jed. And bring up a couple of comments here. Let me see. Your man, first of all, even the Treffley Schlupp, at best he was bang average and mostly a sub or a fill-in player for injured players. Big backward step, in my opinion. Ronnie Pickering. He hasn't seen a worse window since just sitting there thinking about what a window, tweeting 2020 when we signed the likes of Shane Duffy, Alban Yeti, Elanusi, Diego Laxalt, Barkas. That was a window to remember.
This isn't at you, Stephen, but everyone, 95% of Celtic supporters were thinking what a window when that window closed, because we needed the general consensus was to get the 10, we needed a left back, which we did, and he came in with great fanfare, another one of these wonder kids, and he looked all right at the start, and then we quickly realised he wasn't up to scratch, which sounds a bit familiar for me for this season. We needed a bastard there centre half, which is exactly what Shane Duffy was on paper. Andy was a big Irishman, Celtic supporting, Guinness drinking Tim. He was going to be the difference. Elyounoussi had really impressed the season before, so we thought this was going to be, he's just going to come straight back in and do what he did the season before. Who was the other one we said there? Ayeti. Barkas, 6 million on a keep, your favourite player. £6 million Greek international. And fair play to you, that looked a good deal on paper. Albion Ayeti signed for West Ham, £5 million. Started off with scoring a few goals to kick off with. we did think that was a good window, and we looked like we'd had all the pieces together to complete the 10 in a row jigsaw. But I think we can't start comparing things to during the pandemic when the whole everything was a proper shit show that season, and it's been through the work of Ange Postecoglou and latterly Brendan Rodgers that we're way back on track. We're nowhere near that situation. Celtic finished fourth in a Europa League group that year. We didn't make it past the quarter-finals of a cup competition. We were out of the league by October or something like that. This year, we are, we do the business tomorrow night. We're back to 13 points clear, same games played. We're in the playoff stages of the Champions League. We already have the first cup competition in the bag. We've got a home draw on Saturday night where we can hopefully make the quarterfinals of that as well. So, I think, listen, we have good windows and bad windows, the same as every other football club, and there's ones where we hope goes better than ours. I'd love it for us to say every 6 months, this window's going to be amazing and it's going to be like every football club wants it. But if somebody can show me a football club that from the beginning of the era of the transfer window has improved every single time, and it's went in a linear process of, okay, this is us at zero and now we're never going to have a poor window, then I've still to see that club. As I say, I don't think this window has been the disaster that it's getting made out to be. I would have loved another backup striker to come back in. But I think when you look at it on paper, and I think in time to come, we'll look at the deadwood that we've moved on. And that's probably quite a disrespect. I mean, Palmer is a good player, but he's not a Brendan type player. We've moved him on. And it looks as though he'll probably go away permanently in the summer. Stephen Welsh, it's always great seeing an academy player coming through, but he's not at the level. And I'm gutted to see Kyogo go. I'm also ecstatic to see Jota come back because he is a bona fide Celtic player. He is an entertainer. The crowd love him, and we've already seen that he's back. And I thought, considering he's not played much football, I thought he looked decent yesterday when he came on, and I was absolutely delighted when he got his goal. So, listen, I can understand people's frustrations. We all want the windows to go, better than we all hope every time, but it doesn't always work like that.
Yeah, I mean, if ever a comment spiked Anthony up there, that was that. He went on a full one there. But here, I like that, to be fair, you made some good points, and look, I do agree with it because we did all think it was a great window. And back in 2020, all the players we needed came into the club, and unfortunately that season was an absolute shambles. But Jed, I mean, on to yourself, I think we're in agreement that the Schlupp deal is looking like it's going to happen, albeit Celtic will probably confirm it in the final minutes of the transfer window to make it look like the script to buy. It's, as you said, you want the 3 or 4 players on top of that. So, I mean, in reality, like, Paul Tisdale come in as the head of recruitment or football operations. What's he been doing? There's a lot of questions that need answered. And I know we can't compare windows, and Anthony's totally right. We're talking about the here and now. And he said something there that the window's not been a complete disaster. Maybe a disaster is a bad word to use, but I think you make a great point, Jed, in terms of being prepared for the Champions League qualifiers. We've talked about this for years, even when we had Neil Lennon in charge and Ronnie Dowling in charge, playing like near Beaton at the back, getting emergency players to fill in. Dane Murray made his debut as a kid against Midtjylland in the Champions League game, and then he had that horror injury. He wasn't seen for a couple of years, but thankfully he's on the road to recovery. But we're never really prepared for this, are we? We seem to always be chasing our tails when it comes to the summer and the Champions League qualifiers.
Yeah, I don't like using this word. It seems to be the Celtic way. We in the qualifying for Champions League, the board wouldn't take that punt. They were waiting to see if we would qualify and then bring the players in. I was just checking there when you were talking. Sky have announced that the medical is now complete.
Right, okay.
So it's just a matter of Celtic announcing it now. But yeah, my concern is as well, because if you look at Nyorocki so far down the line, if anything happens to Carter Vickers, we've not got a right-sided centre back. That's how I've been saying that in the WhatsApp group as well. We need cover for him. We needed another striker. With left back, right, that's sorted. But we also needed a midfield enforcer. We've not got that. So I just hope that we don't get a bad result on Wednesday night, because the fans are not happy what's happening now. So they're just going to go off their tits on Wednesday night. And we don't want that to happen. We don't. We wanted to go in, get the 3 points, and we'll be 13 points clear. But listen, I keep saying as well, we have been spoiled with winning all these trophies in the last 20 odd years. We have been spoiled. But we're just wanting that little bit ambition from the board to let us progress in Europe a wee bit more. That's all. Now, we could have spent £50 million there in the summer. We still would have been going in against Bayern Munich as severe underdogs. I know that. But it may have, spending that little bit extra could have got us another point, another 2 points in the league, in the league format, if we weren't playing Bayern Munich. So as all fans, we're just wanting the best. I keep saying that, we're just wanting the best for the club.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. Stevie Boy comes in, big hands would have had his targets in last January. And see getting off what you said, and I think you're talking about what I was talking about earlier, the Tony, like, it's not the fact I think a £10 million player would beat Bayern Munich. It's to give us the best chance possible to combat whatever they can throw at us and not get beat 6 or 7-0. It's giving us the best chance possible to go into the Champions League format, league phase now, and maybe pick up 3 points against the Dynamo Zagreb instead of 1. Just that wee bit of extra quality. I mean, pushing the boat out a wee bit more. And I know fees don't guarantee you success and they don't guarantee you all this, but you take a risk every now and then. You go to yourself, we've got 80 million in the bank. You know what? There's the 13 for Netsgarden. We'll see what happens. But, Celtic don't seem to do it like that. Ronnie Pickering comes in, Tony. He said, I'm more looking towards who puts the players on short list. Do they watch in person or just highlight reels? P.S. Poor window plus holding players hostage in 2020 was a perfect storm. Would you agree with
that? Yeah, well, I don't think necessarily it was a kid. I get what Ronnie's trying to say. I think only going by, I can only use Neil Lennon's quotes as record. I think the problem was the kind of fees or the kind of promises that were made in the after the cup final, and so during that season. I think the idea was probably that Edward Christie, I think, if I remember off the top of my head, Idah, they were wanting away. Now, looking back, I mean, I appreciate, the season was called early. It was March time, and the world was, the world was pretty chaotic, shall we say. I don't know if in normal times would they have properly geared themselves up for that shot at immortality. I don't know, but maybe over those 3-4 months of soul searching, they didn't want to be at Celtic going into that final season for reasons best known to them. But the problem was that the kind of deals that were potentially Celtic were going to be expecting to come in didn't materialise, because a lot of the clubs that usually have, I think it was, 15-20 million pound, suddenly that money wasn't there anymore, and Crystal Palace couldn't pay it that season, or would it be Christopher Ayer or anywhere else. So Celtic held strong and says, well, you're not going at a cut price. You're not leaving until we get the money, the fee that we deem acceptable. And for that, compiled with other circumstances, it didn't materialise the way we wanted it to. But yeah, I think Ronnie's right, that it was what we say a perfect storm, and it was just it was what it was. But if somebody told me you'll miss out on the 10, but we'll have everything that we've had since then. I would have taken it.
If you remember, when I first came onto the podcast, I said that if it wasn't for the debacle of trying to win the 10, we wouldn't have had Ange, we wouldn't have had Kyogo, Maeda, You know, we got 5 trophies.
This is the way I always sum it
up,
up, right? The way I always look at it. When you think about what's happened before, we were all guilty of it. We were enjoying this amazing crest of wave where we won. You know, we ended up doing 4 in a row, but we won a treble. We won 9 successive trophies when there was, you know, fans in the stadium, and we were still going, but just the 10, just the 10. I've always maintained if Celtic had won the 10 in the COVID season, right, and then Rangers had the season that they had the year after, and basically won their league title, went straight into the Champions League, the media would have airbrushed the 10 in a row for history just as quickly as they have tried to airbrush the quadruple treble achievements. You know, can you imagine if it'd been the team on the other side of the river that had won 12 straight trophies? We wouldn't hear the end of it. Clyde One would probably open their super scoreboard every night by going, do you know Rangers won 12 trophies in a row 4 years ago? It's never gets mentioned that Celtic done that. And I would argue it's just every bit, maybe even more incredible than doing what they did. But hey, we took a minor setback, and we've won every league title since. We've had more than our fair share of cups since, and we've been in the Champions League every season. You can't get everything, but I tell you what, 9 in a row plus what we've just had now, and some of the players that we've seen that have came back as well. I know it's not a bad position to be in.
No, I think as well. I think it is a little bit galling because of the way the transfer window's going as we're sitting here tonight, because we are potentially looking at a world record if we could get the treble this year. That's a world record of domestic trebles throughout the world. So that's something to go at.
We got that when we done our 8th.
See, I thought that as well, Tony, but then someone says, no, this would be the world record if we'd done it this time. I was under the same assumption as you, that we'd already done it.
I don't know who'd said that, mate, but no, Celtic have got 8, which is the world record.
I know. Well, I'll take that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's what I thought, and that's what I think I was getting frustrated today as well, because I'm thinking, come on, we're creating another bit of history. And
just as you're saying it as well, I think San Fran had said someone that he made another perfect point. The most successful team, you know, I mean, not that we take that because we know we're not numerically, and it's a roasting, but the most successful team in Scotland, that's not been mentioned in the media since December. But you know, they're always happy to portray it when it was on the other side of the river. So we'll never get a fair crack of the whip where that side of things is concerned. All we can do is do what we do best.
Yeah, and that's win trophies. McGranda comes in. Hi, boys. Celtic need to spend if they want to compete with the big teams. They weren't great on Sunday, and Cal Mack needs a break. I see in regards to the spending issue, I think Ronnie was trying to highlight that as well, Jed, in terms of who's short, puts these players on a short list, who scouts them, who brings the reports, who analyses them. And if you look from the outside in, I mean, Jeffrey Slupp is a name that's probably in Rodgers' handbook. Kieran Tierney, obviously coming home, so he's been already on the books. Same with Jota. I mean, you go through a couple of signings like that. It's not really inspiring that we're not really casting what it doesn't seem to be casting in that far and wide. Bar when Ange Postecoglou was in charge and he had the kind of inside scoop of the Asian market, which worked out really well for us. Do you think that's a concern, that Tisdale and these new kind of scouts and data that we as a club are meant to have big reach in, that we haven't really looked far and wide?
Yeah, I think that's the problem, and rightly so. We do not know what goes on behind the scenes. Has Brendan gone to them with a list of players, or do they come to Brendan with a list of players and say, look, out of these ones, who do you think we should look at? Who do you think we should go after? We don't know, but I think, I would hope if we're looking for a striker, we would have at least 3 strikers we're looking at, and we can go and speak to them individually, or try and speak to them going through the relative channels and so on, and then we can decide from there. But no one really knows what goes on in the club. Like I say, it's business, and do we really want to know? Would that make us more frustrated at things, or are they giving?
I'd love to know.
look, I don't. It doesn't really bother me that. I just hope that there are people in there, you trust them, that they're going to do the job to their best of their ability, and we will get the benefit of it with getting these players in. And then, well, we're a selling club, we could bring them in with the option, look, do well here, and we'll sell you in a couple of years. But I'm quite happy with that. But as long as we see progression, we see this conveyor belt where it seems to be working. Yeah. But in this window, again, to only have one to have one signing so far up until 25 to 11, 25 minutes to go is, in my opinion, poor.
Yeah, and I've seen this argument as well, Tony. I like what you were saying about the kind of the years that we've had success-wise, and the players have seen 9 in a row. We missed the 10, but we're doing really well at the moment as well. But your man comes in. Roger's transfer record is horrendous. Stephen, I've said this on here for a long time. At all his clubs, his recruitment record is terrible. The only knowledge of players he has is the EPL. Now, do you think this is maybe overhyping because of the situation we find ourselves in at the moment? Or would you go along the lines that maybe his recruitment sometimes is hit and miss?
Well, I can only think that I'm fresh in my head with Celtic. You look at his, like any other manager, he had his misses as well as his hits, but his hits were pretty good. Scott Sinclair, Mr. Dembele, Odsonne Edouard, and not even just that, but the players that he brought on as well. He brought Stuart Armstrong, James Forrest, Scott Brown, Callum McGregor, Kieran Tierney. Totally raised their game to different levels. I don't know the players that he brought in to Liverpool, but he got
Balotelli.
I think the Welsh guy that he brought in, he was a good player.
Joe Allen, Coutinho,
got that Liverpool team to the brink of a title, won an FA Cup. Leicester, I think he signed the likes of Castagna, Tielemans. So I don't think it's, off the top of my head, I don't think it's that it's poor. I think like everybody else, Pep Guardiola's probably signed a few duds in his time. Sir Alex signed a few duds as well. Jemba was jumps so badly named him twice. But you can only weigh it up with the net and the positives to the negatives. And when you think of the players that he has brought in that have been successful and the success that we've had on the pitch because of that, I'm willing to forgive a Francis Malumbu or a Marin Shved, which he didn't even want anyway. For every Musa Dembele that we get.
But guys, just to throw a wee grenade in as well. As things stand now, we're at a net spend again for this transfer window. Because Jota, Bernabeu, there's just two. So if we've spent 8 million, things are right. We're still in profit of 7 million. With the other 2 players we'll let go.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I think one thing we know about the board and money and account type things, they are very savvy and they get their money's worth and they always post good kind of profits. I think that's, again, maybe to their own detriment is their downfall because we know what's in the bank. We know what the company's making. We know how healthy the profit margin is. We know how much already they've made over £40 million in the Champions League, which won't be published until the next set of accounts. So there's a lot of things that we know that's coming onto the board's bank account, and sometimes it's like, come on, Celtic, do something. We're 20 minutes left, and I'm looking on Twitter, refreshing it every 2 seconds, and it does seem there that the Scottish, one of the Scottish papers put up. I mean, Tony, if we bit of a laugh here, that the Sevco have the most baldiest fans in Scotland. So there's a wee stat, you know what I mean, that come out. I know that.
Say that again, Stephen. So they've got the what fans?
Baldy. Most baldy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Ross won't be happy about that.
There you go.
And I just seen that Boateng has left Hearts and joined Plymouth Argyle on a undisclosed fee and a permanent transfer. So there is wee bits still going on. We're 20 minutes left. I mean, we could talk to her blue in the face, obviously, about kind of ins and outs and the board mechanisms. But just a quick one, Tony, we'll just sort of throw you under the bus here. What would be your best and worst January signing that you've ever seen with Celtic?
I'm trying to think of when the January window sort of that phase kind of started. It was during the kind of Martin O'Neill era, wasn't it? Kind of hard to say. But worst one, Comper's got to be up there.
Was he a January signing?
I think he was, yeah. He started. No, he started against Morton in the Cup, didn't he?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if that was in January. The game was in March, but I don't know if it was January signed. But I'm trying to think of just
put your blue scarf down, Ross.
Great January signings. Stevens got a good one there. Craig Bellamy. Bellamy's got to be up there. He was, I think it's just unfortunate, obviously, what the events of what happened that last game of the season, because if Celtic had, if we'd won the league that year, he would have been absolutely, he would have went down in folklore the way he came in, made such a great impact, scored all the time. Then we remember the Craig Bellamy first half at Ibrox as well. Freddie Lundberg, yep. Aye, it was that just didn't work out at all. Chris Commons was a great January signing. I know he's kind of, he's maybe not everyone's favourite nowadays with his decisions off the park, but no denying when he was there, he was a terrific player for Celtic. But no, I can't. We've had a few humdingers, but we've had a few really important ones as well. You kind of have your underrated ones as well. I remember Andy Hinkle was a January signing. Under
I love that. I love Hinkle. I loved him.
Really good player. And you're continuing the right back tradition. Obviously, Mikael Lustig was a January signing. What a player he turned out to be. Again, I feel came on to a different level under Brendan in his first season, as his first spell as well. So we've had some good ones and we've had some bad ones.
Paul McKeown, how bad it's got. Instead of talking about new players, we're talking about your favourite January signing. Yeah, Paul, we've got a podcast about content, and we might have to get up to 11 o'clock here, deadline day. But no, I do agree with the sentiment of what you're saying.
And asking what our favourite spring collection is for Adidas soon.
There's not many coming out. But Jed, I mean, same question on lines to yourself. And Hinkle, Lustig, both solid players. You mentioned Armstrong, Craig Bellamy was unbelievable. I mean, we have had some success in the past in the January windows. We've done quite well. Obviously, you mentioned the loan deals with the buy options usually work out quite good for us. What about yourself? Who would be your favourite, your worst? Well, Lundberg has to be up there as well.
Tony, can you maybe help me out with this one? Was Didier Agathe a January signing?
No, he was before the window was a thing, mate. So he signed, him and Alan Thompson signed around about the September time. So they were post the 6-2 game, in the same way that I think the 6-2 game happened and then we went off on the international break, but you were still allowed to sign players, and that was around the time Rangers signed Tore Andre Flo. And we signed Alan Thompson, Didier Agathe, so they weren't January signings, but I don't actually think the thing was a thing at the time.
Yeah, but bad ones. There's been a few, but whether they were January signings, I can't remember. Honestly, I can't remember. So I can't help you out with that one, Stephen.
You're fine with it. It's all right. Sorry, but we'll make it.
As long as we're not talking about worst January signings and players are mentioned in this window in 6 months' time.
I just seen her on Twitter that Aberdeen are about to make their second or their third deadline day signing a striker from PSV on loan, 20 years old. So they're making waves, but it's one of these things. And what's your opinion on Paul Tisdale then, Tony? People are saying different things. He's head of football operations. Rogers talked about him coming in, doing kind of an audit on the club, so to speak. But, I mean, where's the impact? We haven't heard from him directly, but I don't think he's done an interview. You would imagine, I mean, I remember Nick Hammond and Lee Congren coming in. They done their usual interviews about what they want to bring to Celtic and things of that nature. But their man Tisdale's been quite quiet.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same accusation gets flung at Michael Nicholson as well. Obviously, the chief exec that kind of doesn't really do anything out with the club's in-house media channel. I think Tisdale's done something with with the famous Jerry of Celtic TV, but like you say, it's not going to be the
where is he?
Questions, you know. But no, I have to say, I didn't know much about him when he came in, mate. Although, for all accounts, his CV looks really good. Like a lot of these, I mean, I remember we had the boy that was the director of football down south when he came on and kind of explained the role a lot more. And I know that's different to what Tisdale's kind of in charge of. I can't really say much on him at the minute, mate, because I haven't, like we say, we haven't really heard from him. As much as I love the fly on the wall documentaries with other clubs, I'm not too sure if I'd be too much of a fan of it happening at Celtic. But I suppose it would be interesting to see what the ins and outs of those roles entail. But I mean, I think he's got to be given a bit of time. I think just like a manager or player, I don't think he should just get one, bit of time to, one window and that's the verdict kind of on him. He's been in the building when Kyogo's left, but he's also been in the building when Jota's arrived as well. So, that's a like for like. But, as I say, I don't know enough about him and the role that he has yet to make a proper judgment on him.
Yeah, I mean, Ronnie comes out again there, Jed, that Tisdale does come up to give Rogers fashion tips, bonnets and all that malarkey. But I mean, I know your man David Pleats came on board as a scout. I think he's in his 80s. He was highly regarded at Tottenham, and I think he only left at the start of this season because they're going down a more kind of analytic approach, more data driven. Do you think it's a negative that we haven't heard from the scouting departments, the head of football operations? And I know we're talking about flying the ball documentaries. I think it's quite funny that one of Celtic's high up communication guru people was like the head of Apple. Of some description. He was really high up in Apple. You never know, maybe something might happen later down the line. I think that would be fantastic to see behind the scenes at Celtic Park, just to see even what a day looks like. But do you think it is a negative that we're not hearing from these people directly?
Oh. But when have we ever really heard from board members? I mean, our major shareholder, when was the last time we heard from him?
There's rumours. Did you hear that rumour on TalkSport that Alan Brazil just chucked it out there, going, "I got a text that Desmond's considering selling up"?
No, I mean, so look, he'll make a fortune, so it could be he'll sell up. But I always thought his son would be taking over the club. Was that not the rumour as well? He'd become the major shareholder.
Ross Desmond, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think we've ever been a club that you heard a lot from the board. Maybe the last time was when we had Jock Brown, when Bim Janssen and we brought him in. That was the last time I'd really say we had someone from a board level who spoke to the press more. Maybe because he worked for the press for years and he was more confident to go out and speak to them. But we've not heard anything. Have we this season? Have we heard from? Has Lawwell even come out and done an interview in the last 6 months?
No.
I don't think he has. No, I can remember. It seems to be Brendan as the spokesperson for the club. Now, it could be Brendan wants that. He doesn't want the board members speaking about it. But I don't know. I really don't know.
It's just a strange one. I would like a wee bit more kind of transparency. I know that's not everyone's cup of tea because
you'll never get
people
it,
say,
because even
people also
EGM,
say
that they want to know what questions are going to be asked and everything there. Any wee dodgy questions that they don't like, it's just kind of pushed to the side. They don't want any negativity.
Yep. And that's the thing, Tony. People say sometimes that silence is golden, isn't it? But I think in some cases you need a bit of, what's actually happening behind the scenes. And you don't want another kind of tomorrow Roger saying it's a hard window and that doesn't look good in my opinion. If he comes out and says that, and we try to get our targets in with Field, and we've ended up in the situation we are now. And we were having that debate in the group chat earlier. It got quite heated at some points, especially between myself and Franny, going back and forth. But kind of the future planning argument of it, like, and again, go back to the two situations we find ourselves in. I know that Schlupp deal probably going to be announced in the next 5 minutes or so because we're from 10 to 11 and the window closes at 11. But yeah, that kind of sorts out an issue until the end of the season. But there is no real future planning here apart from KT coming in. We're still really, really short up top.
Yeah, but I think we can reasonably assume that we're going to sign a striker in the summer. And I think that is the forward planning in terms of the left back situation. That's Kieran Tierney coming in is fantastic. I think Arsenal's renewed title run, I think, is probably not helped in that matters. I know a lot of people are saying, it's Mikel Arteta playing to the gallery across the road. I think, with the greatest of respect, Mikel Arteta's got bigger things on his mind than the tribute act to the club he used to play for. But I think, and then I think was it Borussia Dortmund had shown an interest in who's the other boy?
Shevchenko.
Shevchenko, yeah.
So yeah, I think Mikel Arteta's got to look after Arsenal, and it might be, we know Kieran's way down the pecking order there, and he would have loved nothing more for us to come up to come up to Celtic. But by the same point, he is an Arsenal player until the end of the summer, and it's not beyond the wit of man that he could come up here as a Premier League winner as well as an FA Cup winner as well. I think obviously Liverpool are in the driving seat at the minute, but I think it just takes one kind of weekend. Obviously Liverpool are still doing great in Europe as well, as are Arsenal, but they've still to play each other. Liverpool perhaps drop points with their game in hand. It's right back to that would be it would stay at 6 points. If Arsenal were to win the remaining match against them, it's down to 3. And it would be a case of who blinks first. So I think Liverpool's still in the driving seat, obviously, but there's a chance that Arsenal there's a good chance that they could go right to the wire with them. So Arteta's thinking is about that, and not necessarily Kieran's career in that sense. He's got to put Arsenal first in the same way that every manager's got to put their club first. And what will be. But I'm sure if there's one thing I think we could all agree on tonight, even everybody in the comments, I'm sure we're all buzzing about getting Kieran back in the summer, and just hopefully we can get a very, if we can get him to anywhere near the level he was the last time round, that will be a fantastic bit of business as well.
Yeah, I know. I do agree. That's a great bit of business. Paul McKeown comes in like the old days, waiting for a dual check to come in. Liz Brown waiting on the bus. Shambles Celtic, balls to the walls. We all live in hope. Pork Chop Express. Take care, fellas. Stay safe. Do you not think as well, Jed? I know it's a great bit of business to tie up the pre-contract with Kieran Tierney, but is it a risk that he's not our player for the next 6 months, and let's say he gets another injury at Arsenal, and we
Did you see that there? Fucking hell, man! This is what I'm up against.
Why is there people crawling in your house?
Because they're in the kitchen. Fucking hell!
No, but do you think it's a risk that KT might get injured and come to us injured in pre-season? Do you think?
Sorry, Stephen, you asked me again because I'm getting it here.
Oh, fuck. No, right, what is it? We're saying Kieran Tierney on a pre-contract, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think it's a risk that he's not our player, like right now? And what if he picks up an injury at Arsenal game? Where are we left again in the summer?
Well, to pick up an injury at an Arsenal game, we need to play him, and Arteta's hardly played him.
Well, I mean, he's coming on and fits and starts
now.
Tony,
you said he's not really worried what's happening up here, but he's about third or fourth choice left back at Arsenal. And to me, it just seems a little bit pettiness, because they'll be getting a player off their books that's costing them 120 grand a week. So I thought there would have been more. There would have been more. What's the word I'm looking for? Basically, wanting to deal with
incentive to get them off the books.
Yeah, and let them deal. Let's hope, guys. I'm telling you now. I hope he never kicks the ball for Arsenal again, in case he does get injured. But it would have been good to get him in there now, but obviously we didn't. Now, I know Peter Lawwell and Rodgers went away down to London today. They could have been looking at a lot of things. Do you think they've tried to even sign them to Arena? And Arsenal says, look, what's it going to cost to get them there now?
Oh, fuck. Packet of peanuts and a walnut whip. I don't know. I have no clue. Apparently that was fake, by the way, that photo that Dan was doing the rounds of Rodgers on the plane. Apparently that was fake. I think Rodgers was probably laying in his bed playing with his Tom Tank. That's what's happening there, like, you know what I mean? But I don't know. We've got 5 minutes left.
And the watershed,
It's Celtic. Sorry, Tony.
I'm just saying, with Stephen's Bar, you can tell it's past the watershed.
I know. By the way, that's just threw me when my daughter came in there. That's just knocked me to pot there.
Can I ask you a question that's really actually intrigued me, right? So your daughter's crawled into the kitchen, yeah? Have you got stairs? Have you got stairs from your kitchen up to your bedrooms?
No, they've come in. I'm sitting in the dining room. They went in and went into the kitchen. So the youngest just came down earlier. She's went in, and then the middle ones then came, and she's crawled, but obviously didn't realise her head's going to be up here. That's the one who appeared on Friday night, a little bit drunk.
Oh wow, that's incredible! But Tony, we're entering the last 3 minutes. I don't know what's happening on Celtic Twitter. Need to have a wee look. Just give me your thoughts at this precise moment in time, if you have any.
I don't know what to think anymore with how the last 5 minutes have went down.
Sorry, Tony.
No, at all. No, it's kind of like I've said for the start. It's been the kind of window that you always hope it goes better than it is, but by the same point, when you look at the ins and outs on paper and the deals that have been made, I don't think it's as bad as what the shall we say that the loud area section of the Celtic support
is that me
coming away
Sorry,
with.
Tony.
Yeah,
sorry.
No, at all. Listen, I think
it's us over here, Jed.
Yeah, there's no doubt, and I hope we kind of start the game well early on Wednesday night and just kind of curtail any of that. But you can just see it happening if it goes 30-35 minutes and we're not really at the sack the board stuff.
I said that earlier. That is my worry.
And I really hope it doesn't come to that, because I think we've got to look at the bigger picture. We've got Jota back, who's going to be absolutely brilliant. It's a huge chance for Idah now to prove he is the top dog, and he was worth every penny that we've spent on him. We've got out a lot of players that were just never going to feature really much under Brendan. That's not necessarily to do with talent. It's just the fact that it doesn't suit the way he wants to play football. I'm thinking the likes of Bernabei and Palmer and Welsh and players like that. And obviously it's great news getting Kieran Tierney signed up. Great deal. We don't have a goalkeeping situation to worry about next season as well, because we've got Casper tied down again as well. So, you always want more, but relatively, and obviously the left back position in the departure of Idah still, it's been filled with this boy Schlupp coming in for Crystal Palace, so there's a bit more versatility there. So we've done really well the first half of the season. Nothing daft now between now and kind of April, May time, and it'll be time to celebrate again. So yeah, I can understand people's frustrations, but I think if we just take a deep breath and let it all play out, we'll be all right.
Do you think?
Well, I mean,
Rodgers is going to. I would like to see him coming out. If we don't really get the players in, come out and say, "Look, we tried to get EB." They don't need to name the players, but the teams moved the goalposts. That's why we were not going to spend the money. We told them what we were going to pay, and they mucked us about. This is what's dragged on, but it's just the quadruple still on you. Shut. Yep.
And that is the window shut. And I'll check the Twitter page one last time before we.
No, Celtic, I'm doing it right. Nothing.
There's nothing on the Twitter page. But what we're led to believe is the Jeffrey Schlupp deal is complete. There's multiple sources that are saying this. Sky Sports, Peter O'Rourke as well, who's a big journalist down in England. He has contacts. But it looks like a quick roundup here before we leave the podcast. And thanks everyone for sticking with us. I know it's quite a long one tonight, but we've enjoyed it. But it looks like on the face of it, we've completed the deals for Jeffrey Schlupp on a 6-month loan deal with no option to buy. Felipe Jota's come back in. We've obviously lost Kyogo. We've terminated Alex Vai's loan. Burnaby's left. Palmer's left. Welsh is away on loan. Tony, how would you? And Odin Thiago home. He's away to the MLS as well. So there's another player who's left. How would you sum up? I know we've talked about it a lot tonight, but not shut. How would you kind of sum up your feelings?
Is that me, mate? Sorry.
Yeah, you.
Aye. Like I say,
right, guys, hot off the press. Celtic have just announced we've signed Jeffrey Schlupp on loan until the end of the season, subject to international clearance.
I always think that sounds a bit MI5, that, innit? International clearance.
Yes. So that's hot off the press. So we've signed 2 players.
There you go. It's all good. So to answer your question, Stephen, I would say I wouldn't say I'm kind of cock a hoop, but I'm reasonably satisfied with how things have played out. But I can accept that a lot of that is down to the fact that Jota's back in the building, which I think is going to be absolutely brilliant. We always want more, but that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. And Jed, what about you, buddy?
Disappointed. Really disappointed because we're crying out for a cover for Carter Vickers. We've not done that. And we've not got a striker. Now, I know we can still maybe get some players in who are free agents.
That's never really been our kind of cup of tea, though. Yeah.
That's the worry. So it is, but no, I'm just really disappointed. And the lack of overall signings. Delighted that Jota's back. Delighted that we've got cover for Taylor. But guys, we all know the positions that we need to strengthen, and we haven't.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm kind of off your thought process. Liz Brown, who signed, so just confirmed there, Liz, on Celtic's official Twitter page, that they signed Jeffrey Schlupp from Crystal Palace on a 6-month loan deal with no option to buy. So he'll be in the squad, I think, for probably the Dundee game at Dens Park. There's some quotes and stuff from Brendan. And it's the Celtic Park, isn't it? There's some quotes from Brendan, and there's some quotes from Jeffrey Schlupp as well. Jed, have you got them?
Hold on, I've just got...
If you don't have them, it's fine.
Just people basically commenting.
No, that's grand. That's grand.
Poor transfer window. We knew it was going to happen.
My brother comes in. Good show. Thanks for sticking with us, bro. Stephen Murdoch, underwhelming.
Yeah.
Free Palestine next season, obviously. Sam Fran probably couldn't get the Rocky out the door in regards to the Carter Vickers kind of cover. But yes, so the window is ended. It's past 11. We finished with Jeffrey Schlupp tonight on a loan deal. Unfortunately, still no backup striker, which is quite alarming. In my opinion, it'll be interesting to hear the thoughts of Brendan Rodgers in his press conference for the Dundee game.
Well, I think that means Kenny will not be leaving to go to Shamrock Rovers on loan then.
You'd think so. I would think that would be the way Celtic will play this, because Cummins, his head's out the door, so at least Kenny will be up for it and chopping at the bit to making the pressing. That's if he stays and doesn't go. But yes, lads, have you enjoyed tonight's podcast, the transfer deadline day?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Always good coming on, and just apologies again, couldn't get on just for starting time. But yeah, always good to chat with you guys, and again, thanks to everybody for sticking with us. We decided to go a wee bit later tonight, so we could be on air when the window closed. But all the people getting involved in the discussion, I see the comments down the right hand side of the screen here. Everybody's been, getting involved and giving us their tuppence worth. So this is why we do the show, and it's great to see everybody getting involved. So thanks again.
Yeah, and Jed, you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I obviously enjoyed it. The show. I was hoping we were going to be by 11 o'clock. We'll all be dancing tonight with a lot of new bodies in the door. It wasn't the case. Listen, we move on. We support the club on Wednesday night when we go to the game. 3 points, and take it from there.
Yeah, and as Tony said a lot tonight, it is what it is. Until Friday, when we're discussing the game against Dundee, everyone stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.
Cheers.